Welcome to The Authentic Life with KL, the podcast where we throw out the rule book, where we dive in head first to the real and raw, unapologetic journey of living the best life. That includes lots of music. This is your go-to space for empowerment, for deep healing and owning your authenticity like the boss that you are. We're here to break down walls and slay self-doubt. Vibe to the soundtrack of your soul. With every beat and lyric, we'll move through stories that heal and empower. You can live your fullest and most badass life. Welcome to The Authentic Life with KL. All right, I have with me Jammie, the lead singer of the band Bosstel and the lead singer of Praise the Fallen. Welcome in. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, no problem.
I'm going to jump right into the question that I always do. And I always ask, what is something about you that the listeners or fans may not know? It could be something quirky. It could be just something that no one would really know.
I thought about this and I thought it would be a cool opportunity to let you know I've got 3 songs and a B-flick movie. The movie's called Neo Wolf, or it might be called A Band from Hell. I think it's on Tubi right now. I was in a band back in the day called Signal, and there's 3 songs in that movie. It's actually a Lionsgate movie too. It's about a band that turns into werewolves at night.
I'm so watching that. I so am. I'm a B movie girl. I love it. I love it.
Called Neo Wolf. Yeah, it's kind of cheesy, but it's cool that I got 3 songs in a movie, though. It's cool.
That's so fun. That's so fun. Do you have any musical influences that have guided you in your journey, or is it kind of just progressed in a blend?
And just the stuff that's, that come through culture, basically, grew up in the 80s, the hair metal thing. And then the 90s really grabbed me more because it's just more depth lyrically and stuff. And Nirvana was a big thing with me because the simplicity of the guitar work and stuff. Once I saw that, that's when I started to grab a guitar and started writing my own songs. I would say Nirvana, Live. I liked Live a lot. Candlebox. I liked a lot of 90s bands more. STP. My favorite band's Rush. I mean, I don't play music like Rush, but there is progression in some of my songs to where it's not where I keep it interesting and it's not boring,
Yeah, yeah. Is music something that you've always wanted to do, or was there a pivot point for you that you're like, I have to do this now?
Music was an escape for me, like the way I grew up in that. I kind of get deep here, but I had my mom was great, but my father's wasn't around. My real father left me behind, and I was raised by a stepdad that wasn't a good person. And the escape was music. I started pretty much. I joined band. I started playing trumpet. Like I was 8 years old. Started playing trumpet. Then the drums interest me because I saw the drummers were cooler. And ended up being in marching band and concert band and jazz band and just surrounding myself with that whole world. All my friends in high school were in band and stuff. So a lot of it was marching band, 4 years of marching band in high school, but played trumpet throughout since the time I was 8. Then I played French horn. Then I dabbled with keyboards and stuff. So I think it was inevitable that I'd become a songwriter, but then it was just making sounds and stuff and kind of escaping everyday life through music.
Yeah, that is why I do what I do. I think that there is so much. We have all these different tools all around us as humans, and we don't utilize them to just help walk through our journey. And music is just one of those things that has been healing for so many. I know you have 2 bands, so but I want to talk about Praise the Fallen. Is there a story behind that name? Because I really love that name. I can only assume there probably is, but is there?
Yeah, I tell people what the name means is we should. I feel we should be out there. There's a lot of broken people out there. Rather than breaking them, kicking them while they're down, we should praise them, and maybe they wouldn't be as broken. So we should praise the fallen, as opposed to kicking the fallen when they're down already. That kind of thing.
Yeah, it kind of goes against the grain of what happens on collectively. There's not very many people that will help raise or help those people that have fallen. And I think that's just where I want to come in and like shine on that for people to have a safe place anymore to be able to just
Right.
be, just go through your shit. And yeah.
Right. Praise more people that they would be, like even like drug addicts or
Yeah.
whatever. Give them love and praise them. Maybe they would come out of it more than making them feel bad about their poor decisions and stuff. So I guess that's what we should praise the broken, praise the fallen, you
Yeah.
know.
Do you have a song, and you can go through maybe if there's a certain one with each band, but do you have a song that you hold closer to you because of the experiences that you've had or the story behind it that you mind sharing with us?
Well, I'm really proud of our newest single. It's called Low.
Mhm.
That bullying. I dealt with a lot of bullying, not just only in the music scene. When you get to where I'm at the level that I'm at, the smaller bands in the scene, they start talking about you and you deal with that. But I also, the way I grew up in my home and in school and stuff as a teenager and stuff. I was bullied a lot. And it was an anthem to those out there that are currently being bullied. And, we see the suicide rate going up from bullying, and I wanted to write a song about that and put it out there from my own personal experience as well through the words I wrote in the song Low. I think Low is real close to my heart. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually one that I wrote down because for me, I've done what not the podcast for 4 years, but I've grown the community and all the things that I've done over the past 4 years. And for me, when I was listening to it, you always have these people that you think are going to be by your side and they're supporting you, but then you find out that they really weren't supporting you. They were kind of just there along for the ride to kind of see. I don't know if it's what they could get or it was just comfortable for them, but then they disappear and then they have all these terrible things to say, which in fact aren't really true at all. Um, and so for me, I can resonate with that because you always go through this loss process, but usually you lose to be able to gain the things that are meant for you. So it's great, but it doesn't take away that emotional shit that you feel whenever
But
you're going through it.
I have a similar story. I was in a very popular band from 2006 to 2009. We were sponsored by Jägermeister. We were really blowing up in town. Everybody wanted to be my friend. Everybody was following us. Long story short, we ended up over staying in 3 Days Grace. I played in front of 14,000 people on a Jaeger tour. We did a Hinder tour with Hinder, and we played with the Cult and stuff. So we were getting really popular. And I had a little taste of, I guess, kind of being a celebrity. But questioning is like, do you like me for me or do you like me for my band? Well, long story short, once the band broke up, a lot of those people disappeared. And then some of those people were on Facebook running their mouths about me. Like you said, they don't know you. They run their mouth about you. They believe, past band members that played with me in that band or whatever, spreading rumors are true and stuff like that. So I've dealt with that kind of bullying. And then there's a bullying in the scene where they're just, bands are always like rivaling with each other and like our band's better than them and they suck. And let's be real. That's how it really is. A lot of the backstabbing, these bands, rather than working together, they say they work together, but yet they're still, behind the scenes are talking about you and stuff like that. And that's where it came from. The chorus said, does it take you higher to make me feel so low? Does it put you in a higher place? You feel better about yourself now?
No,
Kind of
it's a great, I mean, a great comparison because it is people, well, one, people just don't have space to make mistakes. We're all human. We're gonna all make mistakes. And when someone does make a mistake, boy, everybody certainly, most certainly points at that person. That way no one's looking at them. And then it turns into this big thing that really, if we all treated each other with respect and did what we should do, then it definitely wouldn't hold so
quite a few people
harmful.
quite a few people that favored that band I was in a long time ago. But I think if they came snooping around now and what I'm doing now, they would like this much more. Because I focus, like I said on my Facebook, I say song is king, and that through all the bullshit, man, I just focus on the songwriting. I dealt with, being close to getting signed twice, working with people that left me to play with actual rock stars and stuff. And you could let it you could let it falter you, or you can just be like, okay, what am I here for? I'm here to focus on the songwriting and put a message out. And to me, that's more important than the popularity or the media hype or whatever. The songs for me are really important, and to perform them, you know, and to make one person feel, something from that song means the world to me more than playing in front of 14,000 people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that and we talk about this a lot on the podcast and stuff, but like the music industry is so different now from the 80s. It is not this rock star lifestyle unless you are Aerosmith, right? Or something like that. Like
Yeah,
it's just not. You don't make the money that was there before. Like you don't the ticket prices, don't reflect a lot of income for you. Spotify and all the places you play music don't give you all that much. So it's just a completely different lifestyle compared to what it used to.
I've always had a job and played the music weekends. I was always smart about it, but I was also a single dad paying child support. I had to work, so I couldn't just rely on trying to be a rock star, but I did try. I
Yeah.
tried a few times getting signed. uh Same old story, band member doing drugs, or he gets a girl pregnant, or the band's done, dude. Then you go on to the next band, and one guy's, I had one guy, he left me. I left this area and I formed a band in Chicago. For 3 years, I was driving from South Bend to Chicago because I was kind of tired of this area and I wanted to go to a bigger city to where maybe I would be seen there. And I formed a band and we were doing really good. And then the drummer left us and joined Enough's Enough. So it's like, okay, I could have just said, all right, throw in the towel, I'm done. All this disappointment with the industry and stuff. But then I had to go, okay, why do I do this? What is my passion?
Yeah.
You know, and then 2020 hit with the COVID thing. And that's when I started to dive into recording, doing stuff by myself. And that's how Bosstel was born. I recorded a bunch of songs by myself because bands weren't doing shows or anything. So I invested in some recording equipment and I started to learn how to be a producer because I realized I like writing songs. That's what I like to do. It isn't, I love performing too. That's a part of it too, but I'm always going to be a songwriter. I love doing that.
Yeah, it's good. I'm not one that is good with my words. So when people are good with their words or they can paint this beautiful picture, I think that it's just meaningful. I think it's more meaningful than a lot of people give themselves credit for. Like we talked earlier about someone being a good songwriter and they're like, yeah, it's fine. It's not that great. No, it's really an amazing, amazing gift. How has having the ability to write music supported your mental health through the ups and downs of life and journey of being a musician and just life?
I've done that most of my life. It started out that way. It was escape for me, going through, look, as teenagers, we all go through the bullying and stuff. If you ain't a jock and you're not the popular kid and you're the band nerd, you're getting picked on. So what do? Some kids have no escape. They have no outlet. They go drugs or drinking, whatever. I went music. First, it started out just by playing the keyboard with my headphones on and just ignoring the world. Started working with 4-track recorders and making little songs, just for something to do. I lived in the country in the middle of nowhere near Chesterton, Indiana. It's a small town in the middle of nowhere, and there isn't much there. So what do? Well, you escape. I escaped through music. Lyrically, I guess for me, I've been through a lot of dark shit, man, and it makes it easier to write it down and get it out of your system. I guess like that song "Bird in the Berry," you know, that's a reflection on my past. That's also I wanted to write something to where I'm not the only one who feels this way. People reflect all the time. They have the images of the abuse, the way they grew up and stuff. Don't mean to get dark, but I had a violent stepfather, and every once in a while, that stuff will pop up in your head, and you got to go, no, 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 get out of my head. That's the devil. Keep it away, and you got to on the now and not let the past affect your future. And that's kind of where Burden the Berry came from. You got to bury that burden if you want to move ahead, if you want to move on. You're doing the best you can. That's what I
Yeah.
said in that song. that came from my own experience. I was having a bad day. I had a shitty boss who was being nasty to me, and I went home and I just wrote that song, just out of me. It wasn't always that way. I know many times when I would have a bad day, I would just go home and grab the acoustic and just strum on it and just start mumbling noise or whatever, and it would become lyrics. And it's important to me to write lyrics that make sense, because I used to write real deep lyrics that made sense to me but didn't make sense to others. So you have to draw the line where it's intricate enough and interesting enough, but it's also simple enough for the listener to understand you. you know
Sure.
and for me, just the story of my life and what I've seen and experiences I've experienced, that's what I write about the most, and it just works for me.
Your experiences. I think that, and you are not getting too dark or bringing up anything that I don't absolutely welcome. I truly feel like when people, whether it be through music or talking on here or talking somewhere else, when you tell part of your story, it allows other people to know that, oh, they've been through that too, and they don't feel like they're such a burden. And so I appreciate anything that you give on that, because that's actually, I was going to talk about your newest release, which is The Burden to Bury, and ask you kind of the story behind it, because one, people always feel like a burden. They feel like a burden no matter what anymore. Like we as humans don't have those connections with people as much anymore. And if we're struggling, we don't want to talk to someone else because we feel like we're a burden. And so that was going to be my question. What was that about?
Right, you're carrying the burden of the past in your mind, like the movie. I said it's like a movie inside your head. You carry that with you, and you try to just focus on the now and try to, like for me, like I said, I had a violent stepfather, and
Mm.
you know told me many times, you're not going to be anything, and I was out to prove to the world,
Yeah.
okay, to be a rock star. I'm going to show you. I'm going to make something of
Mm.
myself. Didn't quite get there. I mean, I did all right. Like I said, open for Stain, and that was a pretty big moment in my life. But at the same time, I personally, I'm not going to deny I still struggle sometimes where I don't know if it's PTSD, but if it's like it takes you back to that place and the way you were treated. I developed habits in my
Mhm.
20s. That's where the song "I'm Not Angry More" came from.
That's
And
one I have down too. I was going to ask you about.
yeah, what's funny about the that song "I'm Not Angry Anymore" is like, I think we all use anger to keep ourselves safe.
I do.
Uh, Times you see some pissed off person, acting all aggression, but behind that person, there's a reason why they are the way they are. You know, they've always been in what do you call it? Protecting themselves, defensive mode, you
Fight or
know,
flight.
because of the way they grew up.
Mm.
If you grew up, being violated by your father or mother or whatever, you're going to develop that habit of being defensive. And, the way you keep your heart safe is by being angry, especially in our youth. We're like, anger, that's what gets me through. But you reach a point as you get older, it's like, man, I'm not angry anymore. I'm past that. I want to handle things completely differently than the way I used to. I admit, I used to handle things not the right way. You want to fight? Let's fight.
Yeah.
You know, I was tough like that. So for me, that song was like saying, I'm not angry anymore, but I have a way of writing words that other people can identify and go, yeah, man, I feel that. I'm not angry either anymore.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Just like the burden to bury. It's like we all have a burden to bury.
Yeah.
You let that weight bother you and ruin your life, or you can bury it, so you can move forward in life. You know what I mean? So inspiring songs like that, I like to write.
Yeah. Yeah. The I'm not angry anymore. I do a lot of teaching and talk about like authenticity just with people and help them through their trauma and things like that. And anger is such a surface emotion, and it's something that keeps us safe. Usually, not always, but usually we have something that makes us realize, oh shit, I didn't realize I was such an angry person. Did you have something like that, or was it just a many instances to where you're like, okay, I need to change this?
Yeah, I mean, I had instances. I mean, not prison or nothing like that,
Sure,
but
sure.
instances where I could have handled things differently than I did. That anger, you know, there are some people who think they know me now and they still, there's those people that judge you for your past, but they don't know you now. So some people still hold who you used to be against you. And just wanted to put out there, hey, I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah.
You go ahead and form your opinion who I used to be, or you can get to know me now. That's kind of what that song's about too. I was going to tell you, you know, Dave Grohl said this actually, back in the day, if you were rebellious at home because the way you were being treated at school or stuff, schools would automatically label you learning disabled because refusing to listen or whatever. No, it's the fact that we were rebellious and we just didn't care about that, I guess. I was like that. I was labeled learning disabled. I was put in special ed, and when you're put in that situation, the kids in school, they're making fun of you and pushing you around and stuff, but you don't know the situation. You don't know. I had no control of this. They put me here anyway. Might be too much, but all of that made me who I am. I just had a guy who I went to high school with. I will not put his name out there, but he said, man, he goes, Low, dude, that song Low. He goes, man, I was bullied throughout high school. I was pushed around by the kids and stuff. He was a little slower, a little short dude and that. And he thanked me for writing a song. He goes, dude, he goes, and here's a guy, he's about my age, and he's still dealing with that. He still thinks about those kids that bullied him in high school. That was 30 years ago. I told him, I say, man, you just got to let it go. You got to get up the next day and say, hey, that was just a part of it. Those kids were assholes or whatever. I actually had a guy apologize to me at my class reunion. I ran into a guy. He was like, was I an asshole to you? I'm like, yeah, he apologized to me. But the funny thing is I learned from him at the time. He's like, yeah, man, my wife just left me. I'm going through a divorce. And so it's something triggered in him where he was reflecting back himself going, man, maybe I have been an asshole this whole time. You know what I mean? And it's just opened my eyes to like, hey, you know what I said to him? When he said, I go, hey, man, it's not a big deal. I said, if it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't have pursued what I've pursued and who I am now, So thank you for that.
Yeah.
You made me who I am,
Yeah, those hard times, even the really ones that are unspeakable, they really do. And I'm not going to say it makes it easy to make us who we are, but it really does shape and mold who we are. And then how we choose to handle it and grow through it is, up to us ultimately. But I love the idea of him apologizing because I'm a big self-reflection person. I've learned a lot from just talking with people from veterans, who suffer with PTSD or just anyone who's had any sort of trauma, that the self-reflection can be mind-blowing because you realize like, oh, I did that because that's what I knew how to do. But very rarely do other people give you grace to grow through that as well. So I love that you kind of come through that story of like, I was an asshole, but I'm not so much anymore and not angry anymore.
Well, if you notice, if you watch the video for Low, or for the fallen video for Low, at the end, the bully's crying in the mirror, because the next video is going to tell you the story of what's going on with him at home and why he's being mean to that kid. We call him Tommy in the video. Why is he being mean to that kid? It's because the way he's raised at home. So when my friend who told me, he's like, yeah, man, I'm still mad at that guy from 30 years ago. I'm like, dude, you don't know what he was going through at home. He might have been throwing his weight around because he couldn't do it at home. His dad might have been knocking him around or something. I look at that like that. You know what I mean? So though I have that in my past, I have been bullied in high school and I've had a few people betray me and I've had some bad luck in the music industry. I've had, all of that. It comes with this territory. When you try to put yourself out there and the bigger your brand is, the bigger your name is, trust me, someone's going to come along hating on you. I will not let it distract me from getting better at my songwriting, getting better at my performance, and my goals to succeed and take Praise the Fallen as far as I can.
Yeah. No, I think that that's all you can do. And I think I think that even people who talk, negatively or try to bring other people down, I don't know that necessarily I would consider them as bad people or anything like that. I think they're just stuck in a different place of healing. That once there's a difference between speaking your truth, right, which is what your truth is, or going after someone to tear them down. That's two different things. And I think it does take some grace, right? And growing up to be able to see that everybody really is just people, even in the music industry, just people. I've seen some crazy things in the music and they're just people.
Right. People, you know,
Yeah.
like we said earlier when we talked about opening for Otherwise and stuff, like Adrian, he's an awesome dude for sure. Every time I've opened for him, he actually remembers me opening for him. You know what I mean? He hung out with me and my wife last time I opened for him, and he's just cool, down to earth. And that's the way, to me, that's what makes a rock star, man. Not somebody who's this and they're better than you in that, because you never know the next wave. I could be the next big thing, or that person could be the next big thing. The person you're talking about, be careful with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or you make a mistake and you're the next one to fall. It's not, it doesn't take a whole lot to fall, and you can just as easily be on the bottom as you are the top. And
Oh
with
yeah,
Adrian, he has that gift. We talked about that in the podcast. He has that gift to make you feel like you're the only person that matters in that moment. And it's such a beautiful gift.
yeah. I'm just me. For me, I just want people to know that guy's just a down to earth guy. He works 50 Friday like everybody else, and he just has a passion for music, and he's done it as far as he can. Down if smaller minds like in my area here, they might think, well, that guy thinks he's all that. He thinks he's this because he posts all this music all the time. And it's like, no, I'm an empty nester. My kid's gone. My wife, it's just my wife and I, my dogs. And when I'm not working, I'm doing music. That's what I do.
Yeah.
That's
And
all.
you're allowed to advocate and be proud of the things that you do. That's the only way your stuff gets out there. That's the only way it happens is when you do it. No one else is doing it for you. So
Well, these days with technology, too, you have to be able to keep up and put stuff out. They say you're supposed to put music out like every 6 weeks
mhm.
to keep up with the amount that keeps coming out constantly. So I try to put out a song a week, if you notice.
Yeah. Yeah. What makes you keep going? And I know we've talked a little bit about this. Is it just the drive to prove people wrong, or because I put on here the music industry is difficult and filled with so many things, and what makes you keep going?
Well, it used to be that way. It used to be when I started in my 20s, I'm going to make something myself and I'm going to prove to everybody.
Yeah.
I like that no more. And then the goal was, when I was in that band 19 years ago, we're going to make it. We're going to get signed and we're going to blow up. I mean, we did get pretty far, and but I was also the one who kept people grounded, going, "Look, man, we're just a blip on the globe. There's billions of bands that work twice as hard as we do." I also at the time too was a single dad. I had my son every Wednesday, every other weekend, so it wasn't like I could go on tour and just leave my kid behind. I didn't want to do that to my son because I know how that felt when my father left me behind.
Yep.
Anyway, what keeps me doing it now? I've got some great guys in Praise the Fallen. They're my friends. It took a while to get to those people. I've went through people to get to those people. And that's also something that happens in the scene where if you see a revolving cast of band members with one guy, they seem to think, well, that guy must be the problem. That's not it. What it is for me is I was never content with just playing in town, out of town. I want to travel. I took rehearsal very seriously because, well, from being a marching band and growing up the way I did, I was regimented in rehearsal. So rehearsal is a very serious thing for me to where we have to rehearse. But I learned as I got older, I've got pro guys now that we do our homework at home. When we get together, we run through the set and we're good to go.
Mhm.
It didn't used to be that way. It used to be practice 3 days a week and we got to do this. And I would push hard when I was younger because you're on fire and you want to get out there and want to make it. And this is what you got to do. Nowadays, you don't have to.
Yeah.
So for me, why do I do it now? I love to perform. That's in me because I've been performing since, if I take it back to middle school, concert band. And, I was in jazz band doing impromptu trumpet solos and stuff. And I marched in the 50-yard line at the Pontiac Silverdome and at Hoosier Dome. And so I had a little taste of performance. So I've always been a performer. That was embedded in
It'll
me.
just always be with you and always be part of you.
Competition marching band to then it was like, okay, after high school, you can't really do marching band. What do you do?
Right.
You know? Well, I wanted to be a drummer. I was playing drums when I lived in California, and I met this guy who needed a singer. I ended up being a singer, and the rest is history. Then I grabbed a guitar and started writing songs, and because guitar players would come and go, and I was like, well, I'll just do it myself. So throughout the years, I have a passion for songwriting. The song, though, it's really fun when you put them together here in the studio, and then you put them on stage, put them in front of people. It's magic, It's just exciting. For me, why do I keep going? I love it. I
Just
love
part of you.
I love performing. Uh, my friends keep me going too, because my guys in Praise the Fallen, literally, they are my friends. It's a while, and I knew that I always wanted a band that were brothers, and I have that now.
That's great.
Me, I respect them, but I've also been through members where I thought you were cool. 6 months later, I can't stand you.
Yeah.
I've been through that where you just draws and go, hey, that guy's good. Let's throw him in the mix. But I didn't really get to know him.
Yeah.
Later on down the road, it's like, yeah, we're not really seeing eye to eye on the same thing I want. You don't want the same thing I want.
Mm-hmm.
Or they established in a career and this is all I got. So I'd be pushing them and they're like, well, I got a career. I'm just doing this for fun, Like, okay, well, I'm really counting on making it, Finally, I gave up on that idea. I realized as I gotten older that people have families and careers and stuff, and that's important. You know, I've look at me. I'm a grandfather. I got my grandkids and my wife. I'm married. At the time when I was single and stuff, I was like, push, 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 push. Let's go, let's go.
Yeah.
We take it. Now I just do it because I love it. I love performing. My guys are my friends. I hang out with my band members more than anybody, probably.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm glad you finally have gotten there to where you have them. What do you have coming up in both bands? Do you have any new music, new videos, tours, anything like that?
Well, Praise the Fallen is going to be dropping a new video. We're going to be dropping a single first. We're going to let that single circulate. It's called Bait. It's awesome. I just did the vocals for that this past Sunday. Working with, I told you about a band called Autumn Academy.
Mm-hmm.
They're awesome. The kid's name's Brandon Garrett. He's the songwriter for the band, plays guitar, much like I am too, for Praise the Fallen and Bosstel. Brandon writes his own music. He has a band. It's called Autumn Academy. Great guy. He's also a great producer and stuff. We're working with him. And I just did vocals for a song called Bait. And we have a song that's going to connect to the Low video. We're going to have the same animation team do the next video. It's also going to be an animated video, but it's going to tell the story of why the guy in the first video became the bully he did. That song is called Sleepwalker.
Sleepwalker. I'm excited for that.
That song is actually about drug addiction. I won't go into it, but I had a personal experience where somebody was addicted to fentanyl, and they were very close to me, and what that drug can do to people. The song is actually from the drug perspective, is what I wrote it. It's pretty cool. It's got this Tool element to it. Pretty cool song. But that's going to be in the next video. And while we're making that video, because it took like 2 months to get the Low video made, we're going to put out the single Bait and let that circulate. Meanwhile, right now, it takes a while to get stuff done as far as Bosstel, because my drummer Wayne, he's a CEO of an operation. He's operations for his company and stuff. So we get things done when we can get things done. I'm doing a bunch of solo stuff. If you've noticed, I just dropped a song called "A Song in Your Memory." when I'm not doing the Bosstel or Praise the Fallen, I'm putting stuff out by myself because it's right here. I have a studio right here, the one I'm talking from right now. And I can literally do a song within a week, recorded, mixed, produced, and everything by myself. There's no opinions or anybody coming at me.
Yeah.
Hey, this and that. I can just get it done and put it out. It's fun. I love doing that. I was doing that before I had Bosstel. So Bosstel right now is I'm going to be pushing Bird and the Berry as much as I can to internet radio stations and stuff. I believe we're working on a music video for that too. We still got some pieces to finish on that. Praise the Fallen's playing a show this Saturday, local show right down the road here. And then in January, we're opening up for Strutter, which is the Kiss tribute band, the world-known Kiss tribute band. And then I'm doing some bookings. This is when you sit down and do bookings for spring and summer right now. So
Nice. You have lots of movement, lots going on. So I always end the podcast with this. I like to collectively just pull information from everyone. If you had someone come to you and they were struggling with abuse or with a very dark time in their life and or depression or anything like that, what is some words of wisdom you could give them to keep them here and for them to make it to the next day?
that's tough. Everybody goes through that. I went through it myself too. I just lost my job 2 weeks ago. And it affected me for a couple weeks. But there's always a light around the corner, I guess, when you least expect it. Like, just an example, I lost my job 2 weeks ago. I can't really go into it, but it was pretty hurtful. I felt betrayed. I put a lot of time into that place and that. And I went to another place that I used to work at like 10 years ago. And the guy that was talking to me about possibly hiring me said, yeah, man, I remember you from 10 years ago. He goes, you were a great worker and you could fix anything. And that what I learned from that was like, wow, man, I do make an impact when you don't think you are. So sometimes you get so down on yourself, you don't feel like you matter, but you may matter more than you think you do to somebody else. Never knew, that I'm sure they had several employees since me 10 years ago do that job. For them to remember me, that gave me a spark and go, okay, well, maybe there's a reason why that didn't work out. There's something to look forward to. Not saying that job's going to hire me, but that still gave me a spark going, yeah, I do matter. And someone remembers that,
Yeah,
So,
and the fact that they remember something so positive of you as well, because sometimes we only focus on the negative things that people say, but the fact that they remembered you in a positive way is really great. I know that's so important. Where can everyone, the listeners and fans, find your information? Do you have websites? Is it on Spotify? Where can they find it?
for Praise the Fallen, it's ptfband.com. Bosstel is bosstelofficial.com. And then you can hit me up on Facebook. I run both pages, just Jammie Bosstel. My name's spelled Jammie Bosstel. So, yeah.
Okay. Do you have Instagram, TikTok, anything like that?
Yeah, I need to work on that still. I know Praise the Fallen has Instagram. Bosstel does have a TikTok. I need to use it more often, but I figure I just put it out when a video's done or something. I put that up, and I'm not TikTok. I'm too busy writing songs or doing stuff out, or I don't have time to mess around with TikTok all the time. And that's something I notice some people, you have to constantly be on that to get your or whatever. And yeah, I get the numbers matter and stuff like that. I'm not trying to be famous. I'm just, I feel that if I write the right song, the people are going to gravitate towards my bands.
Yeah. The people that need it will find it.
Right. Exactly.
Yep. All right. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
No, just, remember song is king.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Authentic Life with KL, where we explore the powerful intersection of healing and music. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give a follow and share with your friends. You can find more information about The Authentic Life with KL and Kitty Lynn at kittylynn.com, KITTYLYNNE.com. so much for listening.